There are families that exclude loudly, and families that do it like housekeeping, quietly, routinely, without drama, so that by the time anyone notices, it already looks like the natural order of things. Margaret's family was the second kind. The gatherings happened at her mother's house, which was large enough to feel generous and organized enough to feel intentional. There was always good food, there was always noise. Her mother, Diane, moved through rooms with the particular energy of a woman who believed her attention was a form of currency, and she spent it carefully on the grandchildren she had quietly decided mattered most. Marcus got the iPad at Christmas. 17 years old, barely looked up from it. Leah's twins each got cash in yellow envelopes, crisp and deliberate. At Easter, the gold bracelet went to Sophie, Margaret's sister's youngest, who held her wrist out the way children do when they already know the gift is coming. Margaret watched all of this from the chair closest to the kitchen, the one nobody fought over. Her daughter Nora sat beside her, drawing something in a small notebook she'd brought herself. Nora was 8. She had her father's patience and Margaret's eyes, and a way of observing things that made adults slightly uncomfortable, as though she hadn't yet learned to pretend she didn't notice. The afternoon that changed things didn't announce itself. Deanne was moving through the living room after lunch, the way she always did, a hand on a shoulder here, a comment there, distributing herself. She reached Nora last, which wasn't unusual. What was unusual was that she stopped, not the pause of someone searching for the right thing to say, a different kind of stop. Considered. I got something for everyone, Diane said to no one in particular. Then, more quietly, almost administratively, Nora's not really family, not in the same way. She said it the way someone might note a weather change. Then she moved on. Margaret heard it. The room heard it. Marcus looked at his screen. The twins kept eating. Margaret's sister reached for her wine and found reasons to study the glass. Their uncle, Gerald, refilled his plate. No one said anything, not because they hadn't heard, because they had decided, in that collective and instantaneous way families decide things, that hearing it officially would require responding to it, and no one wanted that job. Nora kept drawing. Margaret had prepared for this, not this exact moment. She hadn't scripted it, hadn't planned the words or the setting. But 3 months earlier, after the last gathering, after the Christmas where Nora had asked her in the car ride home why Grandma always forgot her, Margaret had sat down at the kitchen table after her daughter was asleep and done something quiet and careful and irreversible. She had called an attorney, not out of rage. Rage had come and gone. What remained by then was something colder and more practical. The recognition that warmth had never worked, that patience had been mistaken for permission, and that the only language her mother had ever truly respected was the kind written on formal letterhead. Margaret's father had died 4 years earlier. He had left, among other things, a partial stake in a family property trust, a vacation house on the coast, held jointly, managed loosely, enjoyed by everyone without much paperwork or thought. Margaret had inherited his share. She had never made a point of it. She had let it remain communal, the way the family expected, because that's what you do when you're trying to belong. She stopped trying in October. The letter the attorney drafted was 3 paragraphs. It noted that Margaret was initiating a formal review of the trust arrangement, that her inherited share would be evaluated for possible restructuring, and that all future correspondence should be directed to the firm's address. It did not accuse anyone of anything. It did not explain itself. Legal language rarely does. She wrapped it in a small box. White paper, a thin ribbon, the kind of wrapping that looks like it contains something that matters. She told Nora only what she needed to know. If Grandma ignores you again at the next gathering, not forgets but ignores on purpose, I want you to slide this box across the table to her. Can you do that? Nora had looked at the box, then at her mother. What's inside it? Something Grandma needs to read, Nora had nodded. She didn't ask anything else. She trusted her mother with the particular completeness that children have before the world teaches them to audit it. The box slid across the table slowly, guided by 2 small hands with chipped purple nail polish. The room noticed before Diane did. Margaret watched the moment travel. Gerald's fork paused midway. Her sister's head turned. Marcus finally looked up from his phone. Deanne saw the box. She looked at Nora, who had already returned to her notebook. She looked at Margaret, who was drinking her coffee and offering nothing. She picked up the box. She opened it the way people open things they don't yet know will hurt them. Casually, with a kind of mild curiosity, she read the first paragraph, then she screamed, not a scream of grief, a scream of recognition, the specific sharp sound of someone realizing that a door they thought was permanently open has been quietly unhinged from its frame. What is this? She said, though she knew. Margaret set down her coffee cup. It's a letter from my attorney. You're restructuring the trust? You can't. That house has been. Dad left me his share, Margaret said. I've never done anything with it. I'm reviewing my options. The word reviewing did something to Diane's face. It was not a threat. It was not a promise. It was simply the language of someone who has finally decided to be taken seriously on their own terms. No one at the table spoke. Margaret did not press the moment. She did not explain herself, did not enumerate the Christmases or the Easter bracelets or the phrase not really family that was already settling into the walls of the house the way certain things do. permanently. She asked Nora if she was ready to go. Nora closed her notebook. Can we get ice cream? Sure, Margaret said. In the car, somewhere between the highway and home, Nora asked whether Grandma was going to be okay. Margaret thought about it honestly. I don't know. Are you sad? A pause. The kind that means something is being measured before it's handed over. Not really, Margaret said. I think I'm just tired. Nora looked out the window. The trees were moving in that slow coastal way, unhurried and indifferent. Okay, Nora said, and that was enough. That was all of it. Not a victory, not a rupture, not a lesson delivered or received. Just a mother and her daughter choosing ice cream on a Sunday, while somewhere behind them, a door swung very slowly on a loosened hinge.